Let's settle this now. If you grew up in the 70s, you had the kind of childhood today's kids can't even imagine. We mastered patience by being the human remote, wrestled with rotary phones and party lines, and spun real music on vinyl before digital even existed. Our Saturday mornings were sacred, ruled by 3 TV channels and the sound of cartoon theme songs, not endless scrolling. From the electric glow of lava lamps to the satisfying chunk of an 8-track tape, We Are 70s Kids isn't just nostalgia, it's proof we survived and thrived on challenges modern kids wouldn't last a week with. But just how different was our world really? Back in the 70s, the TV wasn't just the center of the living room, it was the gatekeeper of the entire week. If you wanted to watch something, you had to earn it. No remotes, no voice commands, just a chunky dial that clunked through 3, maybe 4 channels if the weather was on your side. And let's be real, if your parents needed to switch from the news to Wheel of Fortune, guess who got called over to the set? That's right, you were the human remote, sprinting across shag carpet, twisting the dial, and praying the static would clear up before Dad lost his patience. Getting a clear picture meant a wrestling match with the rabbit ears. Sometimes you'd stand there, arms raised, aluminum foil wrapped around the antenna, holding the pose like a living statue while everyone else got to watch. Color TV was the family brag, but even then, half the time, people looked like Martians until someone fiddled with the tint. By 1972, most homes finally had color, but the struggle to get the skin tones right was a weekly event. Saturday mornings, that was our Super Bowl. You woke up before sunrise, poured a mountain of sugary cereal, and parked yourself in front of the glowing screen for hours of cartoons. No DVR, no streaming, just a block of pure animated gold. If you missed your favorite show, tough luck. You waited a whole week and you remembered every cliffhanger. Music wasn't a background noise, it was a ritual. Dropping the needle on a vinyl album, lining up the tone arm just so, and hearing that first warm crackle before the song kicked in, pure magic. 8-track tapes brought music into the car, but they had their own quirks. The telltale K-chunk when the track changed, the way a song could split in half right in the middle. Only 70s kids know that heartbreak. And if you wanted to hear your favorite song again, no skipping. You waited for the whole tape to loop around because patience was just part of the deal. Every click, every hiss, every manual adjustment wasn't just a hassle, it was a badge of honor. We didn't just consume entertainment, we worked for it. And that's why every memory sounds a little sharper, every song feels a little deeper, and every Saturday morning still glows in the mind like it's brand new. Before cell phones and group texts, the rotary phone was the true test of patience and finger strength. Making a call meant sticking your finger in the right hole, spinning the dial all the way around, and waiting for it to whir back. 9 digits felt like running a marathon if your friend had a lot of zeros in their number. And if you messed up, back to square one. Bonus points if your phone had a cord long enough to stretch around the kitchen, tangling itself into a knot that would outlast your homework. But it wasn't just about dialing. In plenty of neighborhoods, the party line ruled the day. You'd pick up the receiver and hear Mrs. Johnson down the street deep in conversation, her voice floating through the static like she owned the line. Every house had its own ring pattern. One long, 2 short, but every phone on the circuit rang, so privacy was more of a suggestion than a rule. Eavesdropping was practically a community sport, and learning to wait your turn taught you more about patience than any meditation app ever could. Meanwhile, home wasn't just 4 walls, it was a full-on sensory playground. Shag carpet under your toes, so deep you could lose a Lego for weeks. Beanbag chairs in the rec room, swallowing you whole while you flipped through a stack of comic books. Bedrooms glowed with lava lamps bubbling away, hypnotic blobs drifting in orange or purple light, setting the mood for late-night secrets or just zoning out after school. And if you had a mood ring, you checked it every hour to see if you were calm or anxious, as if a little glass stone could decode the mysteries of being a kid. All those textures, sounds, and colors, tangled cords, carpet that needed raking, the soft plop of a beanbag, turned the house into a living, breathing time capsule. That was the 70s. Every call, every chair, every weird lamp was hands-on, up close and impossible to ignore. If you wanted connection, you had to reach out and grab it, literally. Out on the block, the world was yours until the streetlights flickered on. Back in the 70s, a banana seat bike meant freedom. No GPS, No helmets, just wind in your hair and maybe a few scrapes on your knees. You'd race your friends to the end of the cul-de-sac, launch off makeshift ramps, or wobble down the sidewalk on clay-wheeled skateboards that rattled your bones with every crack in the pavement. If you were lucky enough to have a metal lunchbox, you weren't just packing a sandwich, you were making a statement. Snoopy, Star Wars, or Wonder Woman? That was your badge of honor in the cafeteria, right next to the kid with the dented Hulk box and the thermos that always smelled a little like last week's soup. Inside the classroom, every day started with the sweet chemical tang of fresh mimeograph handouts. There's nothing like that purple ink. Half the class would sneak a sniff before even reading the assignment. Teachers hammered away on manual typewriters, the clack and ding echoing down the hallway while correction tape piled up in the trash. If you finished your work early, maybe you got to help run the Mimeo machine, cranking out copies until your arms ached. That was hands-on learning, 70s style, messy, noisy, and unforgettable. No one tracked your every move, and if you forgot your house key, you just waited on the porch, trading Polaroid-worthy stories with whoever else was locked out. We weren't just surviving, we were figuring it out as we went, one paper cut and scuffed sneaker at a time. Back in the 70s, snapping a photo wasn't just a reflex, it was an event. You only had so many shots in a pack, and every single one cost real money, so you picked your moments like they were gold. The Polaroid was the family time machine, folding up neat as a book, then popping open just in time for birthdays, cookouts, or that one cousin who always made a face. You'd press the button, hear that satisfying whir, and out would slide a blank square. Pure magic in your hand. Forget filters and endless retakes. You stood there, everyone huddled around, watching as the image slowly appeared, colors swirling to life in under a minute. If you got impatient, you gave it a shake, even though the instructions said not to, because every 70s kid knew the real fun was in the waiting and the reveal. Every Polaroid felt like a tiny miracle, a one-and-done memory you couldn't just delete and try again. Today's kids can take 1,000 selfies and never think twice. But in the 70s, that one instant photo was proof you were there, proof the moment mattered, and if you were lucky, it earned a spot on the fridge until the colors faded and the edges curled. That was our version of going viral. A snapshot, a story, and a memory you could hold in your hand. In 1977, every kid knew the feeling of standing in a movie line that stretched around the block, buzzing with rumors about a film called Star Wars. You could wait 2 hours just for a shot at a ticket, and nobody complained. This was the event of the year, maybe the decade. The theater lobby was a sea of plastic lightsabers and wide-eyed kids quoting lines before they had even seen the movie. When those opening credits finally rolled, it was not just a film, it was a cultural earthquake. By the time the Millennium Falcon jumped to hyperspace, you were hooked for life. You left the theater ready to duel with broomsticks in the backyard, humming John Williams' theme for weeks. But the galaxy far, far away was not the only place 70s kids found magic. Friday nights belonged to the disco ball. Roller rinks came alive with colored lights and the thump of the Bee Gees, sequins flashing as everyone, from shy kids to wannabe Travoltas, showed off their best moves. The air smelled like burning rubber and cheap popcorn, and every song was a chance to reinvent yourself, if only for 3 minutes. Whether you nailed the hustle or spent half the song wobbling, you were part of the scene. The rink was a living soundtrack. Stayin' Alive, La Freak, I Will Survive, and you felt every beat in your bones. These were not just nights out, they were rites of passage. Everyone was in on the moment, everyone had a story. For one shining instant, it felt like the whole world was tuned to the same frequency. Pure, unstoppable joy, no hashtags required. Gas wasn't just expensive in the 70s. Sometimes it was impossible to get. Thanks to the OPEC embargo in 1973, families spent hours in snaking lines, engines off, windows down, hoping the station wouldn't run dry before their turn. California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, each state had its own odd-even rule. If your license plate ended in an odd number, you could buy gas on odd days. Even numbers waited for even days. 0 counted as even, and if you had a vanity plate, tough luck. Most places called it odd by default. The 31st? Anyone could try their luck, but that meant twice the crowd. Some folks tried to game the system, swapping plates or hiring line sitters for $150 a month, but most just planned their week around fuel and prayed the green flag was flying at the corner station. While you waited, you might drop a dime in a payphone, literally 10 cents, to call home if you could find a booth that worked. No speed dial, no texting, just you, a heavy handset, and the hope nobody else needed to make an emergency call. If you got lost on a road trip, you pulled out a paper map the size of a kitchen table, wrestling with folds that never went back the same way twice. GPS? That was your dad squinting at tiny print, arguing with your mom about the best route. Meanwhile, the country tuned into the Watergate hearings, the whole saga playing out live on TV. Kids learned new vocabulary: impeachment, subpoena, cover-up, without even trying. The grown-ups argued over politics while you tried to listen in from the hallway. Every inconvenience, every rationed gallon, every tangled phone cord, every mile of map forced you to adapt, to wait, to work around obstacles. That's what built the 70s kids' edge. You learned to cope, to hustle, to keep your cool when the world threw up roadblocks. And somehow, through all the shortages and static, we found a way to keep moving. By 1972, over half of American households owned a color television. Yet every channel change meant getting up to turn the dial. This documentary has shown how 1970s kids adapted to rotary phones, party lines, and the K-chunk of an 8-track, building patience and resourcefulness through daily routines. The average child walked to school alone by age 6, a fact documented by census data and school policies of the era. Iconic cultural moments, waiting hours for Star Wars tickets, dancing under disco balls, or queuing for gas during the 1973-74 crisis, shaped a generation's perspective on freedom and resilience. Some details, like the full impact of latchkey independence or the exact number of party line users, remain incomplete in the historical record, but the artifacts and archived footage confirm shared inconvenience forged strong bonds and distinct memories. Today's instant access and digital convenience are direct results of these analog innovations. For those who lived it, these experiences are not just nostalgia, they are documented proof of a unique era in American childhood.